Hi guys, welcome to Daddy and the John. Today we have a special video with one of my guests, Mark Hill. He's here to grade the transfer business of all 20 Premier League sides so far. He's also going to do a special grade on his own side, Fulham. Before we get started guys, just remind you, everyone who's watching, please subscribe if you haven't already done so. Like and leave a comment as well. And please share. So anyway, let's crack on. Mark, hello, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to let you crack on with this one, mate. You go through the teams and you give them a grade and a brief description of why you're giving that grade and possibly where they need to strengthen before the window shuts. Fire away, Mark.
So I'm going to do the first 5 teams, Arsenal to Burnley. Starting with Arsenal. I rate Arsenal's business a 6 out of 10 at the moment. I think they could do a lot better. It seems like they've bought players that are not quite at the level Arsenal should be at. I think they're missing a striker or a winger. And I've picked out Insigne and Moussa Dembele that they should be targeting. With regards to Aston Villa, I'm going to go 7 out of 10. I think they need a box-to-box midfielder. Somebody around the likes of like Zambo and Gisa of Fulham, obviously my team. Next up, we've got Brentford. I thought they would have done a lot more, to be honest. I'm going to say 5 out of 10 at the moment. I think they could do with a backup striker to even Tony, just in case obviously he gets injured. And I also think they're quite weak in midfield, centre midfield. And I'm not going to mention names because obviously Brentford always buy 1 or 2 players that we've never heard of, and they're always seem to be very, very good signings. So I think they will be strong enough to stay up for sure. Next team is Brighton. I'm going to say 6 out of 10. I've actually been quite impressed with Brighton the first few games. I think they lack a striker though. I know Malpai scored 2 goals, but I just think that they're missing a striker like Kasper Dolberg or someone just to come in to make their ranks a bit stronger. Next up, we've got Burnley. Burnley obviously haven't bought many players in, and they don't, but they always seem to be quite a strong, steady team. The strikers obviously do their job, they know what they're doing, but I think they're lacking a winger. So I've put down David Brooks from Bournemouth as someone that I think would improve them massively. Chelsea, obviously, are next up. Obviously, they've made a massive transfer purchase in Lukaku, and they brought in a goalkeeper from Fulham. Not needed, but I don't think they need to do too much. I think they're very strong. Definitely will be in top 3, maybe even championship winners. So yeah, don't think they need to do anything. Right, next up we've got Crystal Palace. Try not to offend Daddy here, but I think Joachim Andersen is a very, very good player. So just because of that, I'm going to give them a 7. Michael Elise, obviously I think he's injured at the moment, but he will definitely be a very good player for them. I think they lack up front and out wide. And then you got Zaha and yeah, but I think if they was to buy someone like Sebastian Haller, Simon Moses from Nantes, that would definitely improve them. So yeah, 7 out of 10 for Palace. Next up is Everton. Rafael Benitez. I'm going to give Everton a 6. They've bought in 2 goalkeepers on a free transfer. Damari Gray, which is a very good signing for 1.6 million. But yeah, again, I think they lack a striker. I mean, if Calvert-Lewin gets injured, who's going to replace him? So I've put down Callum Robinson here. He's a West Brom player, and he did quite well against Chelsea last season. So, and he's kind of a similar sort of player to Calvert-Lewin, so I've stuck him in. Next up, we got Leeds. I think their business so far has been okay, probably a 7 out of 10. They re-signed Jack Harrison, very good player. I think they just need maybe another midfielder just to come in to give Calvin Phillips a bit of competition, and obviously a bit of stability if he was to get injured, Calvin Phillips. I heard they're looking at Harrison Reed from Fulham, which I hope they don't take him, but yeah. Leicester is next. I'm going to give Leicester an 8 out of 10. Been very impressed with Leicester from what I've seen from them so far. That Boubakary Soumare from Lille absolutely bossed Man City when he came on in the Charity Shield game. Obviously, they've just signed Vestergaard for 15 million. I don't think they need to strengthen, really. I think they've already done that. And yeah, I think they will be definitely in the top 5 again. Next, we've got Liverpool. I believe they've only signed one player, so he's a centre-back, Ibrahima Konate. I'm going to give Liverpool probably a 6. They've let quite a few players go from the midfield area. Wijnaldum, Harry Wilson, Grujic, and obviously with Jordan Henderson with his plastic legs. I think they probably just need some centre mid recruitments. So yeah, either who they sign, maybe Sabitzer could come in to improve them. But yeah, 7 out of 10. With City, Man City are next. Obviously, they've only bought in Jack Grealish so far, 100 million. Definitely improves them, gives them so much choice down the wings. I put them down as a 7 out of 10, but if they sign Harry Kane, then that's a 9 out of 10. I don't think Man City. How do you improve Man City? Let's be honest. So yeah, if they get Harry Kane, 9 out of 10. Right, next up we've got Manchester United. Obviously they bought Sancho, Varane, and Tom Heaton in on a free, which is another one where I think, why did they bother? Because do they really need another goalkeeper with Henderson, De Gea? Sancho, definitely good business. Varane, very good business. So I'm giving them a 7 out of 10. I think they could do with a striker. Obviously Harry Kane. So if they're in for him, then it's a no-brainer really if you're Harry Kane, is it? I'd choose Man United over City. Bigger team, better history, and I'm sure like back in any era, Man United were the team to go to, and I'm not gonna beat around the bush, but I'd definitely go there. Next up is Newcastle. I've given Newcastle 3 out of 10. I think out of all the Premier League teams, Newcastle is the team that needs the most players to be brought in, because there's just lack of quality all over the field, from left back to right back to centre back. Even the goalkeeper, they're not very good. They were lucky to stay up last season. They brought in Joe Willock. That's it. Sure, I know the owner doesn't want to be there. He wants to sell, but they're just not good. They will go down if they don't sign players. I put money on it. I've given them 3 out of 10. and I don't think it will go above 5. I'm being honest there. Next up, we've got Norwich. These Norwich are a team that I feel very sorry for, because they're very much like Fulham. They improve their squads each time they go in the Premier League, but there's always just something lacking. I don't think Pukki's good enough for the Premier League, but he's very much hit and miss sort of player, and I don't think he's Premier League level, and he's getting older. So I'd say they lack a striker, and I also think they lack a leading centre back. I put down a J from West Brom. I think he could probably improve them, and they probably obviously need a striker. 7 out of 10 for Norwich so far. Southampton are next, and obviously they sold Danny Ings. So straight away, that's where I would want to put my money on. Southampton getting a decent striker. They've also sold Vestergaard, so I'd say 5 out of 10. But if they can get a good striker, someone that comes in and hit the ground running, then definitely a 7. Okay, next up, Tottenham. I've given them a 6 out of 10. To be honest, the players that they brought in, I have never heard of in my life. So it's one of those, just wait for them to hit the ground running. It's nice to see they've finally got rid of Eric Lamela. What a waste of a wage he was. Such an overrated player. I'd say that Tottenham, obviously, I think they need a centre-back. And obviously, they probably will need a striker at the end of the window if Harry Kane goes. So yeah, I've given them 6 out of 10. With Watford, I think they've made some very astute signings. Ozan Tufan on loan, Danny Rose free transfer. Alright, might be past it a little bit, but I think he still can bring something to the table for Watford. I think they probably need maybe a centre-back as well. Not seen much of Watford, if I'm being honest. But they've got Sarr. Obviously, he's a dangerous player. Need someone to build around the team with him. So I've given Watford a 6 out of 10. West Ham. I know, speaking to my West Ham mates, they're crying out for a centre-back. And they're also crying out for a striker. Obviously, if Mikel Antonio gets injured, that's their striker option gone. So that is where I think they need to strengthen. I know they've strengthened in goal with Areola coming in to strengthen the backup option. Maybe stick Fabianski in the backup option, because Areola is 10 times better than him. Centre back, obviously they've been linked with Kaleta and Milenkovic from Fiorentina. I've given West Ham a 6 at the moment, but obviously if Kaleta or Milenkovic comes in and a good striker, definitely there'll be probably 8 out of 10. And lastly, we've got Wolves. They've just really brought in players that they had on loan last season, which is Rayan Aït-Nouri. They've got in Francisco Trincao on loan. Obviously, they sold Rui Patricio to Roma and brought in Jose Sarr. I think they lack goals. That's where I think what Wolves lack. And if you watch the game today, that kind of shows it. So yeah, I'd give Wolves a 5 out of 10.
Hey Mark, that's very interesting. A few that I need to pick out there. So I'm going to start off with Brentford's 5 out of 10. That's a bit ridiculous for me. I think they've had a fantastic market. I already gave them 7 or 8. They've strengthened with a class centre back. a class centre midfield. They brought in a goalie who can generally challenge Raya, and they brought in a winger who basically is also a forward who can back up Tony. So first off, why a 5? I think that's a bit ridiculous. A couple of more. You've given West Ham a 6. They've signed a backup goalie and Dawson permanently. So why are they better than Brentford when they've really not improved their squad at all? For me, West Ham's one of the worst of the whole season so far when it comes to strengthening. And finally, Newcastle, a 3. To me, that's a bit harsh. Joe Willock's a fantastic signing for them, and I think that pushes them up to 6. You say they're not very good. I think Newcastle are a mid-table team. They're not going down. They've got good players in areas. But anyway, they're 3 ratings I really don't agree with. I'd like you to elaborate on them. Starting with Brentford, then Newcastle, then West Ham, Mark.
With regards to Brentford, I gave them a 5 out of 10 because, like I said, their team's very untried, untested in the Premier League. If Tony gets injured, then who they've got to rely on? Force. And, you know, he's yet again another person that's tried and untested in the Premier League. They definitely need to get a few more players in to be above a 5. I just think they will get found out. That's the only thing with Brentford. Like I said, okay, they've got good players there, but can they cut it in the Premier? Can they be consistent? So yeah, 5 out of 10 for me still. With regards to Newcastle, I just don't rate them. I don't rate them at all. Like I said, if Alan St. Maximin gets injured, Callum Wilson gets injured, which it will happen because they're both glass legs, the pair of them. You can't get a full season out of Callum Wilson. Yeah, and Callum Willock, okay, they signed one player, but that doesn't warrant them getting a 6. I think that for me that's fair, 3. That's their only signing, and as I said, they need to overhaul their squad. It's not good enough. The manager's not good enough. So yeah, and with West Ham, I still think West Ham are quite one of the strongest squads. That's why they've got a 6, because really they only need a striker for me. So yeah.
Hey Mark, thanks for that. Thanks for joining me. Guys, take care. Make sure you subscribe. See you later.